What's going on, YouTube world? Today we're following up the video I did yesterday about the negative feedback I got on eBay. Let's get into the video. My name is Jason, aka Mr. Llama, the not so better half of the Lazy Llamas, and we started selling on eBay part-time 3 years ago and grew our business to doing over $10,000 a month in sales in less than 2 years. We started this channel to be inspirational and to give back and help new sellers that are just starting out on eBay. And while overall I want this channel to be inspiring and uplifting and motivating, there are some bad sides to selling on eBay.
You can tell me. I can take it.
Overall, I think eBay is an excellent side hustle. I think if you put time and effort into it, it can change your life. It has definitely changed our life. It took us out of a really bad financial situation that we were in a few years ago and has helped us. I can't even tell you how much it has helped us, really, to be honest with you. It would be a video all into itself, where we were 3 years ago and where we are now. That being said, this eBay policy is beyond ridiculous and needs to change. It's been known amongst eBay resellers that eBay sides with their buyers more so than their sellers.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
We all know it. It's not a secret. And it is never more apparent than in this situation right here. The fact that a buyer can hurt a seller's reputation without ever giving the seller the opportunity to either fix the situation or come to some sort of compromise is beyond ridiculous. Our reputation as a seller is very important, and eBay needs to understand this. And the fact that they allow buyers to leave negative feedback on sellers without ever contacting the seller about the problem needs to change.
Change is hard.
As I spoke about in the last video, I received a negative feedback on a video game. The buyer said that the game was not in as good a condition as I had listed the game. I disagree. I've sold thousands of video games in the exact same condition with the exact same description, and have gotten hundreds and hundreds of positive feedbacks and no negative feedbacks to speak of, saying that my games aren't as described. So I disagree with the buyer's assessment, which I stated in my reply to the negative feedback. Always reply to negative feedback and give a defense of yourself. And as far as I knew up until yesterday, this was against eBay policy. I was told and thought that if you offer free returns on an item and the buyer doesn't open up a return case and leaves negative feedback, or if the buyer doesn't contact you and leaves negative feedback, that can be removed. And I've had this done before. This exact same situation has happened before within the last year, and it was removed.
That is needlessly confusing.
So why it is now not against eBay policy, I don't know. Somebody left a comment on the last video that said eBay lies, and I actually came to eBay's defense. And I don't think it's so much that they lie.
You sit on a throne of lies.
They're confusing. Like, you never know what's up and what's down. And I don't have time to go and read all of eBay's bylaws and policies. You know, sometimes common sense just needs to win out. And the fact that a buyer can hurt a seller's reputation without ever giving the seller the opportunity to make the situation right seems completely unfair to me. Now, eBay, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, but if you're listening, the buyer should not even have the option to leave negative feedback until the seller has been contacted about the situation.
Standing ovation.
Either by the buyer themselves or by eBay. I don't care if eBay wants to be a middleman, and as soon as they click the negative feedback button, it goes to a message that they send to eBay, and then eBay messages the seller about the situation. The seller should have some opportunity to fix the situation. What's most frustrating about this, it's a $15 game. I may have just said, you know what? I'm going to write this off, keep the game, don't worry about returning it, and just refunded their money and been done with it. That's probably how I would have handled it. but I was never given the opportunity to do so. And this hurts my reputation. And like I said, I don't want to make this seem like it's the end of the world. This is a minuscule little thing as far as my overall feedback, and it doesn't affect my seller rating. I'm still a top seller. But it's the principle of the thing that this should not be allowed. Like, to be honest, I mean, outside of a couple little mishaps that I've had 2 warranted negative feedbacks the entire time I've been selling on eBay. Totally my fault. Totally owned up to them. My fault. I dropped the ball. Owned up to those.
My bad.
2 in 3 years were actually within my control, something that I messed up that were completely warranted negative feedbacks. And I went above and beyond to make it right with those buyers. eBay needs to protect their sellers much more than they do. I understand they want buyers to be able to, rate their experiences, and, bad sellers need to be called out. That's fine. You can still get bad sellers called out, even with a policy of the seller being contacted. Because if they're a bad seller, regardless of whether you contact them or not, they're not going to remedy the situation in a satisfactory way. Good sellers, like you want to be, and like I want to be, and like I am.
Someone's a little full of himself.
We want to remedy the situation. We will help the buyer in any way possible. We will try to make things right and reach a compromise. We should be given that opportunity. And they're not allowing that to happen. And the fact that we can't even leave negative feedback for a buyer. So buyers are completely protected. All we can do is either leave them positive feedback or report them to eBay. That's it. So I can't even leave a counter feedback on this buyer's profile saying, buyer left me negative feedback without ever contacting me. Seller beware. So, why doesn't it go both ways? If they're allowed to just leave us negative feedback and hurt our reputation, why can't we do the same? So if you're going to protect them, find a way to protect us. That's all I'm saying.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
So on the phone with him yesterday, I was put on hold twice. I was on the phone with him yesterday for at least 15 minutes. The person I originally spoke to, again, agreed with me that this should be removed. And then I ended up being put on hold, and she came back, and then put me on hold, and then she came back. And eventually she said this has already been resolved. The negative feedback is not going to be removed. The case has been closed, and that the buyer did not violate eBay policy. And so, of course, I went on a rant about. It was respectful. I say rant. I didn't yell and get irate, but I let her know my displeasure and the fact that eBay's buyer base has dropped 7% in the last quarter, and I think it's the 4th straight quarter that their buyer base has dropped. Don't freak out. I mean, they're still huge, and millions of people shop on eBay, so it's still a very lucrative side hustle. But the point was, this trend is probably going to continue if they keep mistreating their sellers, and their sellers are eventually just going to move on to other platforms. I've never sold on another platform. I've been exclusively eBay from day one. And I told her this is the first time that I've ever actually considered moving on to another platform. So I told her that if you don't have good sellers like me and how you want to be, if you don't have good sellers that care about customer service and you continue to run them off to other platforms because you don't support them the way they need to be supported, you're not going to have any buyers. If you don't have good sellers, you're not going to have buyers. Nobody's going to come to your website and buy from you if you don't have any good reputable sellers. So that was my point. You need good sellers just as much as you need buyers, and you should support us both equally and protect us both equally, in my opinion. And we're going to end the video there. Just a quick rant. Leave comments. I mean, if you've been involved in anything like this, or if you have suggestions on eBay policies, let's keep it civil. Let's not go crazy. And like I said, eBay overall is a positive experience. It's a great side hustle. I enjoy the platform being able to allow me to make the extra income that I make. So, but there should be some changes to this, and let's discuss it. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can see future videos. And in case you don't know, God loves you, I love you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
I'm a llama.